What's going on, everybody? John Stamper with Dental Cast Productions, and very excited to be coming to you today. We have a real treat. We have an eAssister that has been here for about 4 months from Fayetteville, North Carolina. However, she's been in dentistry for about 10 years, so she knows what she's doing, knows what she's talking about, and we're very excited to have with us Samantha White. How you doing, Samantha?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy day. Now, you and I were just speaking. You just added a new office today, so a lot of craziness going on. So, really appreciate you coming on and talking about some things with us. So, before we get started, would love to have you share with everybody a little bit about your story and how you got to where you are today.
So my mom is actually a dental hygienist. She
Okay.
started off as a dental assistant when she was 18, and I'm not going to tell you her age, but I'm 27,
Okay.
and and then she became a hygienist, and then from there she used to have me be a hygiene assistant, which means I would just be following her around and doing whatever she said. So I've been doing dentistry since like I could walk.
Okay.
Um, it's really important to me, and as many times as I've tried to pursue different careers, it always comes back.
Love it.
Um, dentistry is really important, and I was an office manager for a practice who had two different locations,
Okay.
and I wanted to be able to spend more time with my family because he would close at 7, but the office manager never gets to leave at 7, so it would end up being like a later time that I would have to stay. And then me and my husband got married, and so I wanted to have like more free time, and so I picked up eAssist, and it has been wonderful ever since. Because I meet zillions of people all over the world, and I also get to work at my house,
Yeah,
which is
I love it.
also like really great.
I love it. All right. So this is always a fun transition for me because we're going to go from your exciting story, your passion for dentistry. We're going to hop right into the worst claim story, right? Because I think, as you know, that's what makes eAssist great. That's what you guys help practices with, is really taking the load off of them when it comes to managing so much around the billing side. But it's kind of a fun thing to talk about, right? With your fellow eAssisters and everybody. But share
Yeah.
maybe what your experience has been with maybe your worst claim story.
So we had an insurance okay, we had a patient. The doctor completed the SRP all for quads because it was necessary. Um, knowing that that insurance pays all for quads, but likes to have a narrative and like all the things, because it's not something that they like to do. He had already like pre-written the note and all the good stuff. Um, and then the hygienist obviously wrote her own note, and so it was beautiful. I thought the claim would just fly through because I had a doctor's narrative like prior to me asking for one, which never happens. And then I had the hygienist notes, which were great. X-rays, period charting, anything you could think of, it was there. It was beautiful. I sent the claim, denied, and I was like, "What? Why? You didn't even look at it. You probably didn't even like." I mean, the notes were amazing. They were everything you wanted them to be. They even had the pocket depth of the specific teeth and why it was necessary
Yeah.
to do all four quads that day.
Yeah.
Beautiful notes. Um, and so I call because the only thing that they said is that they do not allow all four quads. And I was like, but our insurance verification says that you do, right? So either your rep is gravely mistaken or you just I don't know what you were doing that day.
Yeah.
So I call and the lady's like, oh yeah, we allow all for quads. And I was like, that's what I thought. Could you look up my claim? She looks at it. She's like, oh, it has to be sent to a dental review because you did all for quads. And I was like, okay, well, how do we do that? And she's like, oh, you have to mail it to this place. And I was like, well, you should say that on the thing, that you sent me back on the EOB instead of saying like, we don't allow offer quads because that's not true to power.
Right.
So then I did it again. I printed everything, mailed it nicely. I called again. They said they had received it and that it would take 30 days to reprocess it. I wait patiently. I got something else that denied it again. And at this point, I'm just like, you guys, like not even paying for two of the quads, just flat out denying like the whole thing, like nothing. And then I call again. I have to be transferred to the dental review team or whatever. I talk to them and they're like, yeah, it just didn't meet our requirements. The pocket steps, they weren't four or higher. And I was like, whose period chart are you looking at? Because I see 6 and 7s. Like, what are you even talking about? And they're like, oh, let me pull up the documents. I was just reading what the last person wrote, and I'm like, you're not even looking at my claim. Like, why am I even talking to you? And so they pull it up, and they're like, oh, wow. And I was like, yeah, we even sent you like actual images, not just the x-rays, but actual pictures that we took so you could see just how bad it was. And they're like, yeah, these are bad. And I'm like, yeah, pay my claim, give me my money. And so after all of that, I had to wait another 15 days because they had to do their processing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, we finally got all 4 quads paid. Mind you, this took like a month and a half, like like from the day
Yeah.
that I started the whole appeal process. So about 2 months from the day that it was actually done. And then patients get all of these EOBs as they're going, and they don't understand why it keeps saying that we're not, that they're not going to
Right.
pay for the service. I'm like, just calm down. We're going to fight them until we get the money that is owed to us. Because if you say it's okay, it's just like a child. If you say it's okay, and the child does it, then you can't be mad because they did it, because you
Right.
gave them permission to do so.
Right. Right.
So yeah, that was probably the worst one, because there were so many things that were mailed back. There were so many like reps that didn't agree, or didn't give the same information.
Yep.
And I did it all, and the office just went about their day.
Yeah. Well, that's a great one, and you pulled through it, which is great. But I think, like you said, it really shows and highlights some of the challenges you guys are dealing with, and what you're solving. And that leads me to my next question, which is, can you share with everybody maybe a difficult situation that you had to deal with or manage in the practice that you were able to rise to the challenge and move forward?
Yeah, we do a lot of different things at eAssist, especially with like getting an office on board. Like even after they sign on, they're still like trying to figure things out and trying to figure out what we are capable of, because they've never really met us in person
Right.
before. And so I think one of the difficult situations I had is I was trying to explain to a provider credentialing, which is not something that they normally do.
Yeah, it's tough.
They normally have a person for that.
Yep.
But he didn't have one. And I was trying to explain to him that he was Premier with Delta Dental and not PPO. And that cost him not to get the amount of money that he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he wanted an appeal, which we will appeal almost anything. But if you don't have the status to get the price you want, then I can't give it to you, and
Right.
Delta Dental obviously isn't going to give it to me.
Right.
So I was trying to explain that to him, and he was getting very frustrated. And then I broke it down like, Premier means like you're a friend, but you're not my best friend.
Right.
And I'm only going to give my best friend the benefit of the best friend. And until you become PPO and be my best friend,
Mm-hmm.
then, I'll see you on Sundays at church. But
Right.
you can't come to my house. And then it was like, he was like, oh, is that what you're saying? I was like, yeah. So we can, we have a credentialing department at eAssist, and we can get you credentialed to be PPO, because that's what he needed in order to be like in order to be in network with them to get the amount that he wanted.
Yeah.
So moving forward, we can definitely assist you and help you get the PPO that you are striving to get. But in his head, he had filled out whatever he was supposed to fill out to be credentialed. And that's all he did, but I guess the box where it says PPO or Premier, he missed that box somewhere. And so he had just done like the bare minimum. And, it's not that complicated at all. We were able to help him through that. But it became difficult because it was not something that he was versed in. I'm sure if we were talking about a root canal, he would have known everything that there was to know about that, because that's something that he does all the time.
Sure.
So a lot of times you step outside of people's elements, and then you have to help them understand it in a way that is not like dentist talk or, front office talk.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's like you said, you have to find that common ground. And speaking to that, just hearing so many of you eAssisters talking about what you deal with on a daily basis. I mean, certainly it's not easy work, right? It's not easy. As a matter of fact, if it was easy, then a lot of the practices would be doing it and they would not have you guys doing it, which I know they appreciate so much. But with that, right, when you think about the work that you guys have to do on a daily basis, is there anything in particular that you look back that gives you the most satisfaction? So a part of your job in working with these practices and what you do, where it's kind of the one thing you look back to, like, wow, like I just feel really good about that. I feel really satisfied, in regards to what you do.
I would say when we get our scores, so they have where they check behind us every so often, that's set by the company. And when we get our scores and you see like what the practice actually thinks of you, because it's not anonymous because it comes from the practice.
Right.
It's not like they thought it was going to come directly to you. It obviously goes to someone above you, and so it's great to hear like, oh wow, they really helped me through that day, or you got a claim paid that we've been working on for a year and we just couldn't figure it out. Like,
Mhm.
so those moments of like, like you noticed my work, the moment when the practice actually figures out like
Right.
you're very valuable and all the different things we can bring, because you have so many different people on a team
Yep.
working together to get them their money, you know. And they only pay for eAssist. They don't pay for every single member. That
Hmm.
I may call in someone from a different office
Right.
because I can't figure it out. They're not paying for that. That was a friend courtesy to me, and so they get all of these different expertise. But it's really great to see that they see the value. It's always nice to be valued.
Yeah, there's no question. All right. So you mentioned earlier that you pretty much have been in dentistry since, I think you said you were like 10 months old, right? Or
Yeah,
like in the early days of your life. Uh,
yeah.
when you think about maybe particularly eAssist and or the work that you've done as an office manager, what led you to eAssist? I think that's kind of a great, question to have you share with everybody, is really what kind of led you down this path?
So, like I was saying, we ended up getting married, and my husband would come and sit in the office with me and wait for me to run my end of day, and he would wait for me to send the claims and triple check them behind the people up front. And because he had two practices, I had to do it for both of them, and so he was just like sitting there. And sometimes it may be 9 o'clock, which is 2 hours after the practice closed.
Yeah.
Sometimes it may be 9:30. Sometimes it's 10 o'clock, depending on how many claims are not where they're supposed to be and what I have to fix. And because I'm solely responsible for the claims at the end of the day, I'm literally checking every line of them.
Yeah.
And so that became a problem because it was just way too late. It
Hmm.
was always super late at night, and it was always like, I just have like five more, and he's like, so that 20 minutes ago. So it was just
Yeah.
it just kept taking a lot of time. We were never able to like go on dates or anything. And we were newlyweds. And so I was just like, we have to do something different. And then whenever I finally was blessed, this woman was telling my mother about eAssist, but she's a hygienist, so
Right.
that wouldn't be the field for her. But she was like, oh, I'd be so excited if you could try it. And then I tried it, and it's not a hard process. Not saying that it's like super easy, but it's
Sure.
not
Yep.
um, super complicated either. If you have the knowledge, then you don't have a problem.
Yep.
And so I went through the whole process. And then when I started, I was like, oh, wow, this is like everything you would do in office, except for I have the flexibility to go to the grocery store, or um, I can do this thing tomorrow and I can have dinner with my husband, or I could cook dinner and verify an insurance. Like, I can be doing them both at the same time.
Yeah.
So that flexibility is a wonderful thing from eAssist.
Yeah. So I think I have a new slogan, Samantha, for eAssist, which is, you want to go on date night with your spouse, join eAssist, right? I mean, I'm so
Yeah,
excited that you actually can now have date nights. That's
yeah.
amazing. That's a great
And
thing.
we do it once a week, and we've been together 5 years. We hadn't done it ever until I started eAssist, and then
Yeah.
it was like we're able to do it once a week for 2 years. So we've been like trying to figure out how to do it or whatever, but it's been really great to just be able to go bowling or
Yeah.
normal things that you used to do and you thought, when you were like in high school or college together.
Yeah.
Um, so definitely nice to have that flexibility, just be able to walk away, and at your office, if you're the manager or even the treatment plan coordinator, there is no Like even on your break, people used to call me on my cell phone on my break.
Mhm.
So there's no like stepping away.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true.
but with this, you can actually take a vacation, which I've done lately. And there's a person to support you. There's several people, and you can leave your computer at home. So the flexibility is by far the best thing, I would say.
All right. So, in closing, I think you have shared so many positive things about it. You've also been very open and honest, like you said, about the transition. I mean, it's like anything else, right? I mean, there's a lot of work involved and you've jumped in head first. Could you share with everybody? I like to ask people that make that jump. So, in other words, you were in the practice, you knew that you wanted to do something different. It's always a little scary, right? It is. Anytime you do something new, or like you mentioned, you go off on your own, the flexibility is so alluring to want to do that. But with that comes a different set of responsibility and challenges and things like that. But can you share for anybody else out there that might be thinking about looking at eAssist or what have you, maybe what was going through your head when you decided to make that jump and to move forward with it? Just some things for them to think about, maybe to encourage them, to motivate them, but then share with them like real thoughts, like things that are going through your head as an office manager and want to make this adjustment, this change.
So one of my major concerns was that I wasn't sure how much money I was going to be able to make,
Mhm.
and I needed to make like I wanted to be able to match the income that I was making
Sure.
because your households are set up on that said income.
Yep.
Um, and that was something I haven't had a problem with the eAssist. You can have just as many offices as you can handle and do a great job at. And so um, I have seven, and I like them all for different reasons,
Yeah.
and like little families. There's not a shortage, for lack of better words, to make the amount of money that you need to make, as
Mhm.
long as you can do your job and do it well. That's all they ask. And then that was one of my concerns was money.
Mhm.
Another one was time because I was thinking, okay, well, at least at whatever time I'm done, I can walk away.
Right.
And so I was like, well, if I'm at home, then what if they call me all day? Like what if
Right.
there's not an off button?
Mhm.
And that's just setting good expectations for your office and just letting them know, like, hey, you guys may be on Pacific time, but I'm on Eastern time. And at 7 o'clock here, I'm done. Like, this is my end all. But if you can still send me a message, I just won't answer it until the next day. So setting like healthy boundaries
Yeah.
also make sure, but you can do that in your personal, like in your
Mhm.
regular office that you have.
Yep.
Um, so those two things were definitely two big concerns that I had, and we all have to pay our bills at some point, but they don't go away.
Yep.
So just making sure that you really think about what you're doing, and then talk to. They have beautiful, wonderful people
Mhm.
on the onboarding team, and they really helped me to know like that's all you need to make? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh, yeah, we could do that. But it's just taking the steps and asking the
Yeah.
questions because not that office staying in an office is bad, but if you are thinking about it, then at least reach out and ask a question
Yep.
because I maybe never would have had a date night with my husband, like if I didn't just ask.
Yes.
So definitely.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Right. Certainly. Congratulations to you for having the courage to do that and to, like you said, want to grow personally, professionally. Most importantly, going to date night with your hubby. That's the best. And
Yeah.
but like you said, I think that this is such a new and innovative way to start helping these practices. And I think the fact that, like you said, you're already 4 months and you're already managing or working with seven practices. So I think that just shows that the work is there, the opportunity is there for people that are learning about this. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited that you're able to make the time to come on and share with everybody what your story's been. And I know the eAssist team really appreciates you doing that as well. So, well, Samantha, thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it. And
No
good
problem.
luck as you continue your journey.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye bye.